Thanks for taking the job. No? Speak to your office.
Thank you. Would it tell you? No.
We are now live streaming.
Okay, you know. John, you ready? Yep. Captain Siders.
I don't know how much of an introduction I need to do. Obviously, we're dealing with this UPS system for several months, at least 6 months now, probably closer to 7.
If you don't speak inside the mic, it won't be recorded.
Okay,
Thank you.
you got it. So we're dealing with this UPS system. As been working through it, trying to make sure we make the right decision moving forward as far as the size of the unit, the maintenance contract, ultimately getting it put in, getting it moved from where it's at now into a better location. I've had a lot of conversations. With me here today are Eric from O'Connell Electric and Joe from Lynn Associates, right? Eaton. Eaton is, he's a representative. Joe's a representative for Eaton, which ultimately is the UPS supplier, and O'Connell would be doing the electrical work if we went that route. So basically, we're here to, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. From there, we'll start with, Joe, you want to go first and just talk about the UPS, the size of it, what we're looking at, and ultimately why it's probably the best thing we should go.
So the current UPS you have is 100 kVA. Your actual load is about 12 kVA. So the thing is grossly oversized. Where it's also located in that garage, the evidence garage, by the spray down area and everything, it's a tough installation because UPS is like clean, dry areas. UPS stands for uninterruptible power system. So it consists of an inverter, a rectifier, static switch so that the load doesn't dump, and batteries to keep it going while the generator comes up to speed and frequency. The proposal, or at least my proposal, is a 30 kVA, 27 kW UPS, and it will fit right in the computer room if you guys are familiar with it, where it is in within the facility over on Pavement Road. It's clean, it's dry, it's cool, everything a UPS likes. The UPS you have now is just, it's not a good installation. I'm just trying to be polite on that one. And being in the business for 34 years, it's probably time to move, to put it into a facility or an area that is properly set up for it.
The paperwork that we got, the cost on that, is at $31,600?
Correct.
Okay, that's the whole system, not the installation or anything, but the
that's
whole
what-
system?
That's what O'Connell will do, correct.
Okay.
Questions?
Were you able to identify or diagnose why the system failed as many times as it did?
That is not my piece of equipment, nor are they my service techs. With my vast experience, and I say that with a smile on my face, it's where it's located. And the problem is, as I said, it likes a clean, dry environment. It's located by a door that may go up or down. There's a hose down area. There's a big splash thing around it. Those things have fans on them, and those fans suck in the dust, the dirt, the road grime. It's Western New York in the winter, right? So we just get all that gunk in there, and it just clogs everything up. And it was inevitable. A UPS should last 20 years. They run 8,760 hours a year. If they're well maintained, the batteries get changed every 5 years. A UPS will last you 15, 20 years. By about year 17, they get a little long in the tooth, and you will have failures because they're running 8,760 hours. Overall, as long as it's maintained in a nice area, you're good.
So can you speak to the maintenance side of the contract?
That's fine. So the first year is considered a 1-year warranty, full parts, labor, and travel. It's ours, we cover it, that's it. Years 2 beyond, you can do nothing. You can buy a full contract like that. It would be a service contract versus a warranty. You can do preventive maintenance checks. 5 years, you need to change the batteries out. They're valve-regulated batteries. They look similar to a marine battery or a battery that you would have in your car. VRLA batteries, they're a 5-year battery. They call them 10, 5 years. If you don't change them out, you're going to have problems. My recommendation, probably in about year 2 or 3, put a service contract on it. After year 3, you actually need a preventive maintenance check by our service technician, and you can also get a parts, labor, and travel warranty on it. After 3 years, you want eyes on it, right? You want someone to go in, plug it in. Like my service tech, when he comes in, he looks at a UPS. When you take your car into the service shop now, the first thing they do is plug into the OBD port and run all the diagnostics. That's the first thing my service tech does too. He plugs it in, takes a look at it. If there's firmware upgrades, if there's anything running hot, anything running out of whack, he can see it. So it's just unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast right now.
So you think we're good for 2 years before we need that service contract? Because we got a one.
In my humble opinion, yes,
Okay. And the warranty includes you guys coming out there and taking care of whatever goes wrong?
absolutely.
Okay.
Is that just within the year?
Yeah, within the first year. The second year warranty, I would probably get killed for saying this, but just from my experience and where that thing's going, for the first year or 2, you're fine. After that, I would really start looking at it.
Do you have any kind of price what a service contract calls for? Just that.
No, we could run them. I could get them back to the captain later on.
Very good.
The other thing we do is we actually put a wireless T-Mobile card or some. We put a card in that UPS. Our dispatch centers. It's manufactured in Raleigh, North Carolina. We will actually monitor the UPS from afar. Now, when people hear that, they go like, "We don't want you touching our equipment. We don't want to know the network." What it actually does is the card only sends out. It does not send in. It's wireless, so we actually track the UPS. If it's having a problem, we may know about it before you guys do, you as in the end user. So we also take that and compare it to the baseline of all the other systems like this that we've sold over the last 10 years. We know where the pitfalls and everything are, right? Because we know how our equipment runs. You hate to say it's AI, that's kind of a cliche right now, but it all works into the database to make sure everything runs.
And something goes bad, how quickly are you guys out here to fix it? 'Cause
My service guy lives in Springville.
Because it is the
Right.
police department. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
And we've had some conversations with the town as well about third-party work with, I don't know if it was you we talked to, if it was Chris.
Don't know on that one.
Okay. Have a discussion on
That's fine.
that. Okay.
Yeah, obviously, our biggest concern is how many times this thing has gone out recently.
Yeah.
The fact it's the police department, the fact that dispatchers on the calls, we just can't have that. So again, if it goes down, boom, we need that thing right back up.
Absolutely.
And hopefully it'll never go down during that, that time period.
Well, and the
But
thing,
inevitably,
right.
it may. So,
In UPSs, we run data centers, we run hospitals, we run casinos. You can never go down. So that's, you hit the nail on the head.
thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you.
So you went to Bonaventure?
No, my son.
All right, I'm an 86.
Okay.
Just saying.
Is there any questions about the installation on the electrical side?
Yeah, the cost of it, I got two different
believe
estimates.
You
here.
had a different estimate for the costs?
34,000?
Yes. That is strictly an installation. And what we would do is put the new unit in the new room, disconnect the old unit, and run the feeders from where the old unit sits to the new area. Pretty cut and dry, honestly. The only service I could offer on a technical side, which probably is in the line of what you're speaking, is we do have a tag service. We wouldn't, by chance, we wouldn't work on a unit, but as far as the connections of the unit, we do have infrared testing that we can go in and check to make sure that what we did is tight and sound. But we wouldn't touch his units.
That's all I had. And we had the two estimates. It was the $34,000 one, right? Okay.
sir.
Sounds good.
I know we talked briefly about it earlier on the phone, I don't know. What I brought up earlier was just the potentiality of things that aren't necessarily accounted for, because inevitably when we have these contracts, realize that we come across additional expenses. So just, is there anything else you can think of in terms of expenditures when putting the new unit we might incur?
By any chance, did any measurements get done on the doorways?
On the what?
Doorways, those things fit through the-
Oh, yeah, the UPS is 60, the UPS is 60, 30, 60 to 25 if it goes for anything.
I questioned if it'll fit through the doorway, and he seems to feel that it will, so I wanted to make sure that that was out there.
The heaviest piece is about 1,200 pounds, so it's pretty light as far as moving it through.
And there will have to be a swap over, so there'll be a shutdown day at some point.
Should we have to plan for?
Yeah, you'll have to, whatever time you need, ample amount of time to make sure that you're ready for that when it happens.
Is it getting generators in?
No, you have a generator. I don't know your one lines, how it's really fed or backfed. We'll just have to look at that, go through it, and then distinguish at that point. We have a very tight, regimented shutdown procedure with our company above everybody else. So we'll be in ample time going through it to discuss it and bringing certain people in depending on severity. Any other questions?
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Matt, anything from building and zoning?
I do. I have several reports. I don't know if you want to wait until our general meeting, or you'd like to, I can go through the rundown quickly.
You could run down now because it will be recorded, so.
Okay, pretty good. We were able to close out 2 of the floodplain development permits today with the submittal of the topography elevations on projects the Highway Department had recently completed, one along Muirfield Drive and the other on Plum Creek, adjacent to Steinfeld. With that today also came a notification you may have all also received from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Region 8 regarding our community assistance visits. All but one item has been satisfied, and we're currently under a renovation project that's going to bring that non-residential building into compliance with the floodplain program. The MS4 was, a report was submitted there at the beginning of August. The one topic in particular was a shed location inside of a drainage easement that's going to require some relief for setback, a foot or less in either direction, as well as filing an agreement at the Erie County Clerk's office stating the building will be moved should the town need to get into that easement area to do any work. We're working hard with our software company to employ the IPS web portal, which is going to allow remote applications of building permits. It's been a long road getting there, and we just got into the building of the program right in the middle of our most hectic time of the year. It's been a little bit nuts, and we're hoping within the next couple of weeks we can go live with that as a test, just to get contractors and residents acclimated to the software and the abilities that it can provide. I believe that should do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed, engineering?
Real quick, Senior Center, scheduling a pre-construction meeting, all the contracts are signed, so hopefully we'll see some activity out there in 2 or 3 weeks to start the site work. The historical building for the siding repairs, that's on tonight's agenda for contracting. The Historical Society county grants, HVAC, confirmed with I've gone back and forth with the Opera House, what they actually need, and then the last bid we've got, so I think we're on the right page, so we should be able to award something on that next meeting. Schoolhouse work is ongoing, the HVAC's finished up, they're, I don't know, Karen just lets me know when the contractors show up, they've all been given the go-ahead, so
Do we have any more bids coming in, or are we
Well,
redone at
she-
this point? Are we spent?
No, there's money left yet, and she wanted that bathroom done, which was pretty minor.
I still haven't sent that in because we've been waiting to make sure.
No, I know, yeah.
And
She
the
came
same
back-
thing with the Opera House contract, that grant.
Correct, we haven't done anything with that one.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
just so
no.
aware.
Seaver Road culvert, still waiting for DOT. Town Hall soffits, I have all the bid documents, so hopefully by the next meeting, I'll have a request for notice to bidders, so we can get the soffits going, repair work. Windows, we've had some conference calls with New York Forward, scaled back what may be done to the building under the grant program versus what the town may do. That's in the consultant's hands for the grant, so we'll hear back from them probably mid-month. I feel what their next deadline is. I thought it was maybe the 19th of August for the grant, I think. So we'll hear back from them after that. Youth Bureau doors, that's moving ahead. They're coordinating with Imperial Doors and another contractor for removal of the existing doors. And I don't remember if I said anything that the FEMA grant we submitted for Ellicott Creek has been awarded. We were successful in getting that grant for the study. $189,000 study, and I believe the town is responsible for 10%. So that, we're just waiting for paperwork again from FEMA so we can start the process. That's all I got.
Okay.
Yes, I just approved the prototype for the school tax bills. So we're moving right along with that and hoping that the 5 school districts that I collect for will sign off on their budgets so that the county can print our bills in a timely manner. I've also been in contact with, excuse me, New York State. They are offering bingo organizations who paid for bingo games, they call them occasions, during, right before COVID, and then never were able to hold those games. They're offering them a refund. It's a lengthy process. We have 4 organizations who qualify. I just today finished Our Lady of Pompeii Homeschool and Our Lady of Pompeii Church. So hopefully their refunds will be going through. I still have 2 more organizations that I'm speaking with. I need it this week, so we're trying to get it done. There will be a portion of the refund that the town will be responsible for making. We always give New York State 60% and the town keeps 40%, so the refund will be the same, but the state will tell me when we can refund, and I was told don't do any refunds before we're given the approval.
Do you have any amounts roughly?
I think if all 4 do it, complete the refund process, I think the town really won't be out more than $2,000. That's it.
Attorney's office?
Just that between Matt and Ed, myself, Cindy, Chairman DeRienzo, we've been working hard on the new planning department.
Okay. John, Highway?
Yeah, the highway department, the past 2 weeks has been busy in the Stony Brook subdivision. We worked diligently with the Parks Department to raise the street trees in there. We're going to be paving Whitestone, Stonehenge, and Westbury starting tomorrow. So, like I said, we worked really well with Bruce's crew over there, and we got everything milled out yesterday. Weather permitting, we're starting tomorrow, and hopefully be done by the end of the week.
Bruce, Parks?
Thank you. So I think the last meeting we've been texting back and forth as far as our labor position opening. We had 1 opening that we posted for, had 2 very qualified applicants. Mr. Leary and myself interviewed the second round. We were torn between which one we were going to go with, and we had a resignation from our forestry, from our department. So we offered both candidates earlier today. They both accepted. Well, I think everyone knows their names. I'm not going to say it until they're approved, but we're looking forward to them joining our team. It's going to be exciting. Very qualified candidates. So the police project that we got approval for last time on their resolution, they're going to be sealing and striping. We're targeting a Wednesday and Friday to offset the court dates. It's going to be the 16th and 18th of August. So that'll look better. We striped the parking lot over at Rec, so if you haven't been there, it looks sharp. And then with the tie-in with the police department, it's going to look really good. So our compound, our home base, just continue to improve that. We're starting our design, and I've talked to a couple of board members, Bob and Ron, about our Westwood Park Nature Walk. So we met with our team today. We're going to be starting, originally we were going to start with 2 crews going north and south around the park. We revised that model, so it's going to be a tight crew of our all-stars that are going to be starting this nature walk. So we're going to be within probably a week. Our target is to be completed early October. So a lot of feedback, a lot of positive. When we walked Westwood Park, everyone was in favor of it. And we talked to Bob and Ron, and we'll continue to progress. So.
Do we have a cost on that?
That's in the works. Right now it's going to be labor. It's our guys right now. So the main cost will be some of the mixture we're going to be using for the trails. And then we're going to task them with doing some, whether it's boardwalk, bridges, observation points. By next meeting, I'll have an estimate for you, Bob, as far as the cost. And I think that's all I got for today.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Captain Siders, please, anything?
Yeah.
So other than the UPS situation, we've had the new radio system installed. It's been up and running. There's been some questions internally as far as why we went with that system. I've done my best to communicate that it was the best system for us. And SEA has been extremely responsive in just working to make sure, because none of this is kind of a plug-in and play. There's a lot of tuning and stuff that has to go along with it. So internally with the police department, there's been a lot of improvements there. With the fire departments, it's a little bit different just because they have some outdated systems, and now we have a different system entirely from what they have. So there's merging it all together and making sure that it works is a little more difficult, but they're getting closer and closer. So my point is really that the system's in place, it's up and running. SEA has been very responsive. For the most part, things are going well. Tonight, there's a resolution for basically a maintenance contract. And what that it does is it ensures that our stuff's being taken care of if something does happen to it, and make sure that software updates are being done on a regular basis, that our radios, when we get new vehicles, are getting switched out at no additional cost other than obviously the cost of the maintenance contract. And outside of that, I don't think I have anything else.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, we'll run through the resolutions.
Just go through dog control real quick.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on there? So for July, currently have 15 open cases. We took in 15 dogs this month. 7 were redeemed by the owner, 4 were adopted, and 4 remain in care or custody of the department. There are currently 7 total dogs in the care custody of the department. The entire department, including Police Chief Gummo and Police Lieutenant Angela Greco, attended training hosted at the department by Ms. Barty of the New York State Department of Agriculture and Market. While the department was being trained, Ms. Brady performed an inspection of the facility as well and remarked on the greatly improved organization of the department files, equipment, and supplies. Additional training for all department staff has been scheduled with the SPCA, which will include dog body language, behavior, recognition, interpretation, humane dog handling techniques, and a ride along with the SPCA police officers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll go over the resolutions. So 1 and 2 are the normal, approving the minutes and approving the audit claims, and then Councilmember Mazur, number 3.
Number 3 is the bi-monthly building permit reports. Number 4 is the negative declaration seeker on local law with dealing with the residential vehicles. Number 5 is the actual adoption of the law on licensed vehicles in residential areas. 6 is a special use permit, permission on telecommunications tower on 6495 Transit Road.
Councilmember Leary, number 7 and 8, please.
Yes, number 7 is regarding local law for informational mailings to be authorized. So when your bill comes out, tax bill or whatever, something else can go into that same envelope and save the town some money. The other one is to set a public hearing, another public hearing regarding local law noise exceptions. Everything pretty much shuts down at 11 o'clock except a few exceptions to 12. So we want to have a public hearing on that to see if everything should shut down at 11.
And number 9, Councilmember Burkhart.
Approval of intermunicipal agreement, Town of Sardinia Dog Control.
Okay, Councilmember Leary, would you take Councilmember Dickman's in his absent, number 10?
Sure. That's authorized dumping permit, PM Peppermint Incorporated.
And 11, Councilmember
This
Mazur.
is to adopt this negative secret declaration at the Tim Horton, proposed or potential Tim Hortons at 5827 Broadway.
And I have number 12, appointing our police lieutenant. And Councilmember Mazur, number 13.
Number 13 is to approve a preliminary plot, a split of property at 60 Pleasant View Drive. They're just creating another lot off of them.
Okay, 14 and 9, authorize a change order to the clock in Caroline. Councilmember Burkhart, number 15.
Award bid for the repairs at Lancaster Historical Society.
Councilmember Leary, number 16.
This is to fix the bathroom, the remodel over at the Little Red Schoolhouse that our town engineer was talking about earlier.
And Councilmember Burkhart, number 17.
Approve expenditure of funds for the police department to SciNet Communications.
And we do have one suspended tonight. It'll be presented by myself, and it is to hire a person in the replacement person in the highway department. Okay, we have a couple of minutes to take a little break.
Did Richie tell you so? Friday night? I saw Richie Friday night. That screws.
Oh, for the reunion.
Yeah, reunion.
Good, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was good. No, he said he got them back. There's no way to make it work. And I said, well, next year, I just told him next year, we're going to give you plenty of time notice. That's what he said. It's the worst day.
Thinking about the state of the fire, and that's it.
I'm sorry.
Make doors open. Just check. Okay.
These people live where? Here?
I bet you the Apple House. I bet you the Apple House is not that bad.
Oh, it was open, I said. Which door?
I checked.
Go back there? Yeah.
Why would it be locked now?
This guy's not
He's not having an issue. They're not having an issue. This guy's a mess. The fella, too old. He's got problems files. He has to walk down. But I
Is there an Elizabeth Kallmeyer in the audience tonight? No? We'll call the meeting to order. Diane, would you please do the roll call?
Councilmember Burkhart.
Here.
Councilmember Dickman. Councilmember Leary.
Here.
Councilmember Mazer.
Here.
Supervisor Rufino.
Here, please stand for the pledge and invocation by myself. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. This is a little something from Summer Blessings for Families. May we make our home places of relaxation, joy, love, peace, and safety. May we be generous and considerate, not thinking only about ourselves, but helping others enjoy the blessings of the summertime. Lord God, creator of all things, guide our steps and strengthen our hearts during these months of summer and vacation days. Grant us refreshment of mind and body. May we constantly strive to make a meaningful difference in the lives of our loved ones and in the world around us as we enjoy the warm days of summertime. Thank you. Tonight's meeting, we have 17 pre-filed resolutions, 1 suspended resolution, no public hearings, 1 executive session, which will be on number 1, and we'll be closing in memory of 2 people, Owen W. Vey and Jim Smith. At this time, I'd like to call up Hannah Wozniak. Hannah basically saved the life of a young person at one of our pools, and we have a little proclamation for her that I will read off. Whereas Hannah Wozniak, 2018 graduate of Lancaster Central School District, high school athlete, member of Leadership Academy, and 2023 graduate as an occupational therapist assistant. And whereas Hannah Wozniak has been a lifeguard at Keysa Park Pool since 2017 and has been trained in water safety. And whereas Hannah Wozniak, while scanning and surveying the pool, at the end of her rotation noticed a boy starting to go underwater and bobbing up and down. Whereas Hannah Wozniak did not hesitate but jumped into action, performed the active rear rescue on the young boy. And whereas Hannah Wozniak returned the boy to his family unharmed, reminds us all to use extreme caution when around bodies of water. And now, therefore, the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster wishes to thank Hannah Wozniak and all the lifeguards at Keysa Park for the continued professionalism and for Hannah's act of heroism and dedicated service to our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's just, the training that we do for our lifeguards is so important. And it does come into play sometimes. I had another person, I don't believe she's here, but it didn't happen in our town, but it was a Town of Lancaster resident, actually saved another person from drowning, I believe, in Lockport. So again, it is so important to take these lessons in order to protect our loved ones. So thank you again, Hannah. Great job. So with that, I'll move on to the next portion of our meeting. And this will be anybody who'd like to address the town board on any of the pre-filed or the 1 suspended resolution by raising your hand. You will come to the podium and give your name and address. Yes, sir?
Lucas James, 43 Conrad Street, Depew, New York. Yeah, there's a resolution up tonight. Not really sure how it works without one of the members here, but I assume everything's still being voted on though, right?
I'm sorry?
Does everything still get voted on even though a member's not here?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And if it's a tie, what happens?
It fails.
Fails. Gotcha. Can it be re-voted on another time or no?
It could be brought back up if another member wants to bring it up, sure.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to take a minute here to discuss Cornerstone Plaza, 5827 Broadway Street. I did explain most of this in front of the planning board in the last couple of months. I've been working back through this again. But I feel like not everyone on this board has gotten the opportunity to hear some of the, some of the ways this project has evolved. So I want to take the opportunity to just run through it from the beginning, the short version though. All right, so the property there on the corner of Broadway and Bowen, I purchased that property with the initial intent to put a Black Rifle coffee shop there. They're a company that's based in southern states of the U.S. I personally drink their coffee, love their product. I thought it would be a really nice high-end addition to the area, Lancaster. Their stores were all really nice, and I was wanting to get them to come up, up here to the northern states, which they've already started to do. I really, not only do I use their products, but I also believe in what they stand for, which is they go out of their way to heavily support veterans, military, police, retired. So they give 10% of all of their profits to those causes. So when I got into the planning process on that site, I quickly realized I was kind of underutilizing it by only putting a coffee shop there. It's too big of a site really to put just one facility like that. My specialty is building apartments, high-end apartments in Alden primarily. I build Ledgestone Village. It's a $20+ million project, huge project. We've been there for the last 4 years or so, building high-end luxury senior housing. And so I thought that the site, in the design process, when I was working through it with my engineer, we thought, why don't I combine the project, make it a mixed-use project with the coffee shop and then apartments as well, to bring a nice high-end mixed-use development to the area, to Lancaster, where I live. And I'm building my own home as well on William Street. So anyway, through the design process, we actually initially called the apartments extended stay motel use, and their only reason for calling it, labeling it that, was because that was to stay in the zoning at the time. The use was commercial, light commercial, and it didn't allow apartments to be combined with commercial facilities. So we labeled it long-term motel usage. It was going to be used more like apartments than motel. It never was intended to be a motel facility. But I did that specifically and only to stay within the zoning, because I had been told how challenging it was to develop in Lancaster if you try and change the zoning. So I didn't want to change the zoning. So anyway, we went through the whole approval process, and we ended up going in front of the town, this town board here, and the project was declined. We didn't like the label of being a motel, which I understand wasn't really the intended use, but I fully understood. So I basically went back to the drawing board, started the process over again. Didn't change anything about the development except what we were calling it, but we did have to go back through the secret process a second time there. By that time, I had been getting worried because Black Rifle had not been expressing the interest that I had expected and wanted them to show. It looked like that deal might be falling apart, so I had put feelers out to see if there was any other coffee companies, coffee shops available that might be interested in the space in case it didn't work out with Black Rifle. And I found Buffalo Coffee Company, which is Goodrich Coffee. They're up in Clarence. The owner is Richard Budd. And so eventually in that process, it seemed like that was the direction that I was going to be going in. And he had a letter of pre-approval from a bank. We had a signed letter of intent. Everything was looking great until it went before this board, and the board voted the project down. After the project was voted down, I went to Richard and I said, hey, I think this will get approved. Just give me 7, 8 weeks. That's what I was told it would take. Let me go back at this and try and get this approved. He expressed some hesitation because that's when rates were skyrocketing, if anyone remembers at that time, because of inflation and the Fed raising rates. So anyway, net result, went through seeker a second time, changed the label of the residential units to being apartments instead of motel units, and went back before the board. It got approved. Shortly thereafter, Richard did end up backing out when rates had continued to go up. His letter from the bank had expired, probably about a month after the meeting or so. And I have the full records of all email correspondence between him and I, and also Black Rifle Coffee and I can hand these out if anyone wants to see them. I feel like the timeline is important here because there was a couple rumors floating around that I had misled the town in some way because I had not initially intended for it to be a Tim Hortons, and I had not. But after my second tenant had fallen through and dropped out on me, I was getting a little bit desperate. That is the anchor tenant, the main tenant of that space. So a few months prior, Tim Hortons had reached out to me, Bob Bavasotto namely, and he had expressed interest in the site, and I had told him, it's probably not going to work out. I already have another tenant lined up, but thanks for your inquiry. I'll save your number. If it doesn't work out, I'll give you a shout eventually. And so I did end up doing that eventually after Richard backed out. So I did begin discussions with him. I believe the main reason it came to my knowledge that after I had submitted a special use permit for the Tim Hortons, there were some elements within the town that expressed a disinterest in Tim Hortons. To be honest, I was not aware of that prior to. I had said I wasn't planning on putting a Tim Hortons in earlier meetings because I was not. But when my options ran out and they had presented themselves, I did reach back out to them. So my understanding is the reason that some people in the town didn't want a Tim Hortons there was due to traffic, potentially increasing the traffic in that area. So I've gotten traffic studies, and so it's my understanding and the study's understanding that it will not negatively impact the traffic in that area at all. In fact, I believe that it will significantly improve the traffic around the existing Tim Hortons that's on William Street. That site is a noted problem. When that has a 9-car queue, I've gotten very involved, done a lot of research on queues in the last 6 months. So that has a 9-car queue, which does back out onto William Street from time to time and cause traffic issues. The town code, Matt can speak up if I'm saying anything incorrectly, is to have 10 cars in your queue. That only has 9, that's already there, not much we can do about it. The queue on my facility, I had planned on being 14 cars. Through this process in the last couple of months, we changed that to add a second lane based on the recommendation of Ed Schiller, town engineer, to have 2 lanes leading towards the drive-through, which allows stacking closer to 19 cars in that drive-through. So the chances of cars backing out onto Bowen is extremely low. We are nearly doubling the town minimum queuing capacity for that facility. Everyone knows that the Tim Hortons on Walden and Central is a major problem, probably the biggest problem Tim Hortons in the area, because that facility has a
Sam, I have to give you another minute to wrap things up.
Sure, I'm almost done, thank you, I appreciate it. Has a 6-car queue. That's a significant problem. Really needs to be redesigned, redone, because that is not safe. Cars back up constantly onto Walden, it's terrible. And the reason is solely because it has a 6-person queue. So the queue at the facility at Broadway and Bowen, keep in mind, I don't run the Tim Hortons at all in any way, shape, or form. I'm the landlord, but the tenant is Bob Bavasotto, Tim Hortons. Anyway, that has having such a large queue, twice the size of any other queue in the area for Tim Hortons, besides the pavement location, that can easily, people will quickly realize they can go to that Tim Hortons instead of going to the William Street Tim Hortons, and it will ease the traffic at that location. I'm confident. Other people have noted that as well. That's pretty much all I have to say. I just wanted to, DOT has looked at this and reapproved this again for a second time. We've actually now gone 3 times, gone through seeker. So we have fully completed that process. The planning board recommends approval, so I do ask that you vote that way. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Anybody else like to speak on the resolutions? Second time, third time? Okay, we'll close that portion. Official reports, anybody, anything to add, Matt or Ed?
If you don't mind, I'd like to add something that was not mentioned during the work session, and I apologize. This is probably going to rub some people in the wrong direction, but, reading through some of the communications, specifically the denial of the Warner Road culvert grant funding, I urge the board, this town's individual departments, anybody that has anything to do with a building or a floodplain, we offer those services and issue permits to verify compliance with those requirements. So plan in, if and when we do get the Warner Road culvert funding, a floodplain development permit. It's not a heavy lift, but it's just one of the minimum standards that we're required to do as a department and a township to ensure our floodplain administration program. The same thing goes for building permits. We are required to issue permits for any buildings, renovations, alterations, even some repair based on the scope of the work itself. So I urge you, please communicate with other departments. We would love to offer the service of issuing permits for the door replacement project at the senior center, the bathroom renovation at the old red schoolhouse. They're small, but they just verify compliance with the current code. All of these little things that we do matter, just as our lifeguard. The small thing that she did, the small training that she had, saves a life. And it may not be as dramatic, but it does. Public safety is huge. Building and zoning department ensures that all the safety features in our buildings are met, as well as those in the public. Sidewalks, restaurants, you name it, we're there to help. We're not there to hurt anybody. So again, please, these permits are required, and we're more than happy to service the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other official reports or report of town board committees?
I would like to mention that there is a Rotary Club car show, Rotary Club of Lancaster and Depew car show. It is going to be at Russell's Steakhouse this Wednesday, starting at 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. Line dancing starting at 5:30 p.m. So come and join us. Hopefully you'll have a good time while you're there. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to our resolutions. Let's start with the first one. I'd like to move resolution number 1. Resolve the minutes of the regular meeting of the town board held on July 17th and the special meeting of the town board held on July 26, 2023, being hereby approved. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. I'd like to move resolution number 2, resolve the following audit claims being hereby ordered paid from the respective accounts as per abstract to be filed in the office of the town clerk by the supervisor's office. It's check run number 08072023. Total amount is $1,522,260.85. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question?
I do have a question. It was brought to my attention today, Lumsden McCormick, they usually get $8,250 a month. I believe there's 2 charges in there that would be included in this, what you're talking about, one for $18,738 and one for $23,780. Do you have any idea what that's for?
Yeah, they have to employ extra staff of their people to do our accounts receivable stuff. So that will be no longer happening.
But that wasn't in the contract. We switched over them for accounts
So
receivable?
when we lost Lynn full-time, or Lynn was appointed by the county, she ran out of months. So her time ran out, we had to employ Leslie McCormick.
Do we have a resolution on that? I don't recall.
We had a resolution that she had to go back to her normal hours, Lynn did.
Yeah, but how about a resolution to spend that additional funding?
That's in the contract, that additional work would be additional funds.
I just don't remember this being discussed, and that's quite a hefty sum of money in there. $42,000 additional dollars in 1 month. What else are we paying them?
Again, you had multiple employees in here doing other work that had to be done from the finance portion.
Again, I don't remember the approval
Yeah,
for
you-
this, and I'm not for that. You can't just be spending money without the approval of the town board.
The office had to run. The office needed that to get done.
Well, you should let us know that you're going to be spending another $42,000
And again, it
on
was-
employees instead of just doing it.
It was outside the scope of the work of the contract that had to be done. We had nobody else to do it.
But we still should know that. I'm just saying that an email come out saying that we're gonna have to spend an additional X amount for additional work.
Now, how many more months is this going to be happening?
So we're shifting Lynn around to hopefully start covering some of this, so it doesn't happen. I raised questions of this, and it's being addressed.
Again, I got to ask the town attorney, can he spend the money without the approval of the town board?
Well, as long as it's in the budget, as long as we have the money. So we had money that was basically in there for health insurance. We're not going over our budget. It's within our budget. It was in there to be able to cover it, just like any other department. We're shifting monies in other departments. We'll shift money for this one to cover that.
Well, these are salaries, okay? This is money that's being spent on
It's
workers.
professional services.
Yeah, professional services, yes. Again, I don't think that should be done without the permission of the town board.
If you want to stop
Town
business,
attorney?
then let me know, but
Technically speaking, what's the amount, 40 what?
Oh, I can't do that quick math. About 41,000.
40 grand. You can do it without procurement because it's services under the year, under the 75. But I'd have to read the contract to see what paragraph it fit under to see if we can do it without board permission. As a general rule, that kind of money, I think it should be in front. But I don't know what contract section that falls under. I don't know.
yeah. And again, Bob, you could have brought this up when you found out about this Friday.
No, I couldn't,
Place a
because
phone
it
call.
didn't come to my attention to today. This is when I got it, because it's stuck out from the rest of everything else. And we couldn't figure out what was going on. And we were trying to see if they were getting that out of the contract, but all we read in the contract, I believe, was the 8250 or somewhere thereabouts. So again, this is a total surprise as of today, and this is the first place it fits into in this meeting. So that's why I'm asking you. I'm assuming it's part of the, what, 1.5 million?
Oh, yeah, for sure. On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
No.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes. Councilmember Mazer, number 3, please.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution, move for its adoption. Be it resolved, the following building permit applications be hereby reaffirmed. There is a total of 99 with 72 building permits in the town and 27 in the village. Now therefore resolved that the building permit applications here encoded CSW for conditional sidewalk waiver be and hereby reaffirmed with a waiver of the town ordinance required for sidewalks. However, the waiver is granted upon the express condition the town of Lancaster at a future date reserves the right to order sidewalk installation at the expense of the property owner.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, on the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes.
Mr. Supervisor, I offer the following resolution, move for its adoption. Whereas the Municipal Home Rule Law of the State of New York and Chapter 26 of the Town of Lancaster Town Code provided for the adoption and enactment of local laws, whereas the Town of Lancaster Town Board proposing a local law to amend Chapter 400 zoning, Article 4, updated 400-16D, commercial and/or unlicensed vehicle in residential areas, whereas the Town of Lancaster Planning Board has reviewed the environmental impact of this action pursuant to seeker regulations at the meeting on July 19th, 2023, and recommended that a negative declaration be issued, and whereas the board has duly considered the action, the environmental assessment form, the criteria for determining significance set forth in seeker, and such other information deemed appropriate, and whereas the proposed action has been labeled a type 1 action under seeker, whereas the board has identified the relevant areas of environmental concern and has taken a hard look at these areas and has made a reasoned elaboration of the basis for its determination. Now therefore it be resolved that number 1, based upon the thorough review and examination of the known facts relating to the action and its careful review of all potentially adverse environmental impacts and the entire record and proceedings relating to the action, the board finds that the action will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment and that a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. 2, the attached negative declaration incorporated herein by reference is issued and adopted for the reasons stated in the attached negative declaration. 3, the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to distribute copies of the resolution as necessary. 4, the town attorney's office shall prepare and file a notice of determination of non-significance with the petitioner with all required New York State and Erie County agencies, filing a copy of the letter of transmittal. And 5, this resolution is effective immediately.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, on the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Councilmember Leary.
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer.
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino.
Yes.
Resolution number 5, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution and move for its adoption. Whereas the Municipal Home Rule Law of the State of New York and Chapter 26 of the Code of the Town of Lancaster provide for the adoption and enactment of local laws, and whereas a proposed local law of the year 2023 revising Chapter 400 of the Town of Lancaster Code, zoning, Article 4, updating 400-16D, commercial and/or unlicensed vehicles in residential areas, was introduced by the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster by Councilmember Mazer on the 17th day of April 2023, and whereas the Town Board, acting as lead agency under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR, has determined that the action is a Type 1 action and has issued a negative declaration. And whereas the Town Board called for, noticed, and held public hearings on the proposed law on May 1st and May 15th, 2023, where all interested parties were allowed to address the proposed local law. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster that 1, the attached local law number 1 of 2023 is hereby adopted, and 2, the local law shall have effect upon its filing with the Secretary of State pursuant to the Municipal Home Rule Law.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes.
Resolution number 6, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, offer the following resolution before its adoption. Whereas on July 17, 2023, the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster held a public hearing pursuant to Chapter 400 zoning, Article 9, Communication Towers, upon the application of Cullen Morgan of Centerline Communications LLC with American Tower LLC for a special use permit on behalf of T-Mobile Northeast LLC doing business as T-Mobile on the current tower located at 6495 Transit Road, site number 307052, project number UP10542A, which will be identified as T-Mobile site ATC_307052_ Lancaster WT RELO, T-Mobile site number UP10542A. And whereas persons for and against such special use permit have the opportunity to be heard, and whereas Town of Lancaster, acting as lead agency under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, has identified the relevant areas of environmental concern and has determined that the action is a Type 2 action under SEQR. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to Chapter 400 zoning, Article 9, Communication Towers of the Town Code of the Town of Lancaster, the Town Board does hereby approve the special use permit for Cullen Morgan of Centerline Communications LLC with American Tower LLC on behalf of T-Mobile for a telecommunications tower co-location to be placed on the current tower located at 6495 Transit Road. Site number 307052, project number UP10542A, which will be identified as T-Mobile site. Subject to the applicable terms and conditions as set forth in Article 9, Communications Towers, and Section 400-78 Special Use Permit with the following conditions. A copy of the FCC license must be on file with the town clerk pursuant to Section 400-46A9.
May I have a second? Second. On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Leary, number 7 and 8, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Supervisor and honorable town board members, I move resolution number 7 for adoption. Whereas the Municipal Home Rule Law of the State of New York and Chapter 26 of the Code of the Town of Lancaster provide for the adoption and enactment of local laws, and whereas the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster is considering a local law of the year 2023, revising Chapter 320 of the Town of Lancaster Code, taxation, to include a new Article 7 informational mailings authorized, copy of which local law is available for review at the Town Hall. And whereas pursuant to the Town of Lancaster Code, the Municipal Home Rule Law, a public hearing is required on the local law. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster that 1, a public hearing for the revised local law is hereby set for the 21st day of August 2023 at 7:05 p.m. 2, that the town clerk is directed to provide notice of the public hearing as required by law. 3, this resolution is effective immediately.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes.
I move resolution number 8 for adoption. Whereas the Municipal Home Rule Law of the State of New York and Chapter 26 of the Code of the Town of Lancaster provide for the adoption and enactment of local laws, and whereas the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster is considering a local law of the year 2023, revising Chapter 221 of the Town of Lancaster Code, notice to change the wording in Section 221-7, exemptions, subsection D, subsection D, a copy of which local law is available for review at the Town Hall, and whereas pursuant to the Town of Lancaster Code, In municipal home rule law, a public hearing is required on the local law. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster that, 1, a public hearing for the revised local law is hereby set for the 21st day of August 2023 at 7:05 p.m. 2, that the town clerk is directed to provide notice of the public hearing as required by law. Number 3, this resolution is effective immediately.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, on the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Ravino?
Yes. Councilmember Burkhart, number 9, please.
9.
Yes, number 9.
Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I am offering Resolution 9 for adoption. Whereas Article 5-G of General Municipal Law of the State of New York authorizes municipal corporations to enter into cooperative agreements for the performance of those functions or activities in which they could engage individually, and whereas the Town of Lancaster provides dog control services to its residents as well as those in the villages of Depew and Lancaster. And whereas according to the New York State Agricultural and Markets Law, Article 7 and Article 26, any dog may be put up for adoption after being held for the legal holding period as determined by the law. And whereas the Town of Lancaster wishes to enter into an agreement with the Town of Sardinia Dog Control to temporarily house and take care, custody, and control of dogs seized by Lancaster Dog Control pursuant to Article 7, Section 117 of the New York State Agricultural and Markets Law on an as-needed basis should Lancaster Dog Control lack the resources to house such seized dogs, and providing for Lancaster Dog Control to temporarily house and take care of, custody, and control of dogs seized by Sardinia Dog Control pursuant to Article 7, Section 117 of the New York State Agricultural and Markets Law on an as-needed basis should Sardinia Dog Control lack the resources to house such seized dog. And whereas the Town of Lancaster Dog Control Department has prepared and presented an agreement for the Town of Lancaster to provide the services as outlined above per the conditions contained therein for a term commencing June 1st, 2023 through May 31st, 2024, with automatic annual renewals subject to a 30-day written termination clause, which agreement has been reviewed and approved by the Lancaster Dog Control Officer and the Town Attorney. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby approves the agreement between the Town of Lancaster Dog Control and the Town of Sardinia Dog Control, and hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute said agreement, which will commence June 1st, 2023 through May 31st, 2024, with the annual renewals and termination according to the terms of the agreement as presented.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, on the roll.
One second. And the second was by Councilmember Leary?
Correct.
Yes.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Leary, number 10, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Supervisor and honorable town board members, I move Resolution 10 for adoption. Whereas PM Peppermint Incorporated, 8905 Lap Road, Clarence Center, New York, has applied for a dumping permit for property situated on 31 Peppermint Road within the town of Lancaster pursuant to Chapter 287-8 of the Code of the Town of Lancaster, and whereas the application was referred to the building inspector and town engineer for review and recommendation, and whereas the building inspector and town engineer have completed their review of this application, and by letter dated July 26, 2023, the building inspector made a formal favorable recommendation to the town board. Now therefore be it resolved that PM Peppermint Incorporated, 8905 Lap Road in Clarence, B, and is hereby authorized to dump and dispose of materials outside permitted sanitary landfills within the town of Lancaster, namely on the premises owned by the applicant situated at 31 Peppermint Road. Said dumping to be in strict conformance with the application of the petitioner as filed in the office of the town clerk. And be it further resolved, this permit is conditioned in accordance with the recommendations of the town engineer and building inspector as follows. 1, fill shall consist of dirt. No building demolition materials such as wood, asphalt, shingles, asbestos tiles, etc. are permitted. Number 2, access to the site shall be controlled to prevent unauthorized dumping of non-permitted material. Number 3, dirt tracked on the road must be cleaned on a daily basis and more often if necessary. The Town of Lancaster Police shall stop operation immediately upon complaint of dirty roads. Number 4, dumping will be allowed between the hours of 7 a.m. and 8 p.m., Monday through Saturday. No dumping shall be allowed on Sunday. Number 5, dust from the site shall also be prevented from migrating off the site. Number 6, fill shall only be placed in the areas which are indicated on the plot plan. Number 7, no signage for dumping allowed. Number 8, vehicles are to remain on a paved surface, and at no time is vehicle traffic onto unpaved areas allowed. Number 9, stormwater pollution management practices are employed and maintained. Be it further resolved that no building permit for the construction of any structure on the SBL premises upon which this dumping permit is issued shall be approved by the town building inspector until such time as the building inspector certifies in writing to the town board that the conditions enumerated in this resolution have been fully complied with. And be it further resolved that pursuant to Chapter 287-8 of the Code of the Town of Lancaster, the permit authorization granted herein expires 1 year from date of this resolution.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, on the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Mazer, number 11, please.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution, move for its adoption. Whereas the Town Board is considering the application submitted by Lucas James, DBA Lucas James Construction, as designee for Cornerstone Plaza, owner of the 5827 Broadway, Lancaster, New York, for a special use permit to operate a restaurant, namely Tim Hortons, in accordance with provisions of Chapter 400 zoning, Section 18B1A of the Code of the Town of Lancaster. And whereas the Town of Lancaster Planning Board has reviewed the environmental impacts of this project pursuant to SEQA regulations at their meeting July 19, 2023, and has recommended that a negative declaration be issued with the conditions. And whereas the Town Board has duly considered the plans for the construction project using the short environmental assessment form, the criteria for determining significance set forth in SEQA regulations, and such other information deemed appropriate, including the recommendations of the Town of Lancaster Planning Board. And whereas the Town Board has identified the relevant areas of environmental concern, has taken a hard look at these areas, has made a reasoned elaboration of its basis for its determination. And whereas the proposed action has been labeled unlisted under SEQA, now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster that number 1, the issuing of the special use permit to operate a restaurant, namely Tim Hortons at 5827 Broadway, Lancaster, New York, in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 400 zoning sections 18B1A of the Code of the Town of Lancaster, will not result in any large important impacts, and therefore is an action which will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, and therefore the board issues the attached condition negative declaration of environmental significance for the reasons stated therein, with conditions as stated herein. 2, double lane stacking is to be provided. 3, a new traffic study shall be conducted after 1 year. 4, any issues identified in the traffic study will be addressed by the applicant within 1 year. 5, the town clerk shall file a copy of conditioned negative declaration in the file for the project. 6, the town attorney's office shall prepare and file a notice of determination of non-significance with the petitioner and with all required New York State and Erie County agencies, filing a copy of the letter of transmittal. And 7, this resolution is effective immediately.
May I have a second? I'll second it. On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
No.
Councilmember Leary?
No.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. I'd like to move resolution number 12, whereas William Gummel, Chief of Police of the Town of Lancaster, in a letter dated August 1st, 2023, has recommended the appointment of Police Officer Derek Braun to the position of Police Lieutenant, whereas the current competitive civil service list for the position of Police Lieutenant was duly canvassed by the Chief of Police, and Derek Braun qualifies for appointment to this position pursuant to the standards and procedures as set forth in the civil service law. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby appoints Derek Braun to the position of Police Lieutenant for the Town of Lancaster, effective August 7, 2023, and that such appointment shall be subject to all applicable provisions of the collective negotiations agreement between the Town of Lancaster and the Cayuga Club Police Benevolent Association and all applicable provisions of law. And be it further resolved, the Supervisor of the Town of Lancaster take all necessary actions, including with the personnel officer of the county area to implement the foregoing. May I have a second?
Second?
On the question, on the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Derek, please stand. Congratulations. You'll be referred to as Lieutenant Brown now. Congratulations. Number 13, Councilmember Mazur, please.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I offer the following resolution, move for its adoption. Whereas Margaret Drzwicki, on behalf of Conchezio Sircone, has prepared and submitted a proposed for subdivision of a parcel involving approximately 4.844 acres on 60 Pleasant View within the town of Lancaster, said project being further described as a minor subdivision with 0.8 acre physically disturbed area within the town of Lancaster, Erie County, State of New York. And whereas the minor subdivision project was submitted to the planning board and was recommended for approval at their July 19, 2023 meeting, and whereas the town of Lancaster Planning Board, acting as lead agency, has completed the environmental review on June 7, 2023 in conformance with seeker regulations and recommended a negative declaration, and whereas the town board of the town of Lancaster, in conformance with seeker, issued a negative declaration on June 20th, 2023, and whereas the town board of the town of Lancaster has duly reviewed and considered the proposed subdivision, now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Lancaster hereby approves preliminary plot plan dated April 26, 2023, and received May 9, 2023, for the subdivision of a parcel involving approximately 4.844 acres at 60 Pleasant View within the town of Lancaster, said project being further described as a minor subdivision with 0.8 acre physically disturbed within the town. Be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Lancaster requires that the barn structure be removed after transfer of title.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question, on the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. I'd like to move resolution number 14. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Lancaster hereby approves change order number 1 to White's Clock in Caroline Northeast with respect to the outline descriptions provided in the town board and funds to be taken out of account number 11620.426. Description of change order is upgrading the clocks in the tower at Westwood Park. Reason for change, it was determined that due to the contractor's timely work for town hall clock, and the proposal was reasonable and less than the second quote received for $24,500. It was put through this change order for a lump sum amount of $16,578. Be it further resolved, Supervisor being is hereby authorized to execute this change order on behalf of the town of Lancaster. May I have a second?
Second?
On the question, on the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Burkhart, number 15, please.
Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I am offering Resolution 15 for adoption, whereas the Town of Lancaster has duly advertised for bids for carpentry repairs at the Town Historical Society, 40 Clark Street, Lancaster, New York, in accordance with specifications on file with the Town Clerk of the Town of Lancaster, and whereas the Town Board has obtained bids for the necessary work required at the Town Historical Society, and whereas A1 Construction and Painting Incorporated, Kenmore Avenue, Buffalo, has submitted the lowest possible bid in the amount of $58,400 for miscellaneous carpentry repairs at 40 Clark Street, Lancaster. Whereas by letter dated June 28, 2023, Ed Schiller, Director of Municipal Projects for the Town of Lancaster, has recommended awarding the bid to A1 or AI Construction and Painting Incorporated. Now, therefore, it resolved the Town Board of the Town of Lancaster hereby awards a bid to AI Construction and Painting Incorporated for miscellaneous carpentry repairs with the specifications on file in the amount of $58,400, which will be paid for with funds in account 11620.426. And be it further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to execute these contracts on behalf of the Town of Lancaster and to do all things necessary to effectuate the intent of this resolution pending the receipt and approval of all required documents and insurance certificates by the town attorney.
May I have a second?
Second?
On the question? On the roll?
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Leary, number 16, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Supervisor and honorable town board members, I move Resolution 16 for adoption. Whereas the town of Lancaster is the owner of the Lancaster District School Number 6, also known as the Little Red Schoolhouse, located at 3703 Bowen Road, and maintains the facility as part of an operations and maintenance agreement with the Lancaster, New York Historical Society. And whereas the Little Red Schoolhouse is in need of maintenance and upgrades to make this historic landmark safer and more enjoyable for the public, and whereas the town of Lancaster for the school district number 6 has been awarded a $100,000 grant through the Erie County Cultural Capital Grant Program located at the Rath Building in Buffalo, New York. And whereas the town board has obtained quotes for the necessary work required at the Little Red Schoolhouse, and whereas by correspondence dated July 13, 2023, Edward Schiller, P.E. Director of Municipal Projects for the town of Lancaster, has recommended that the following contract be awarded: the bathroom remodel to Dan Marzek Plumbing and Heating Incorporated, located at 5029 Broadway in Depew, for an amount not to exceed $1,295. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Lancaster hereby approves work to be performed as presented and recommended, and be it further resolved that the cost of the project will be funded by a $100,000 grant through the Erie County Cultural Capital Grant Program located at the Rath Building, and the balance will be paid for with funds from the town's 2023 other capital outlay line item 11620.426, and be it further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to execute these contracts on behalf of the town of Lancaster and to do all things necessary to effectuate the intent of this resolution, pending the receipt and approval of all required documents and insurance certificates by the town attorney.
May I have a second?
Second.
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Councilmember Burkhart, number 17, please.
Mr. Supervisor and Honorable Town Board, I'm offering Resolution 17 for adoption. Whereas by letter dated August 2nd, 2023, Captain Jonathan Zeiders, Lancaster Police Department, has requested the Town Board approve expenditures for monthly maintenance and access services as follows. Number one, SciaNet Connect Plus system fees for monthly system access without GPS for 61 portable radios and 34 police department car radios, a total of 95 units for $12,967.50 annually. Two, monthly maintenance of 4-position TurboNet dispatch console server, $1,998 annually. SciaNet GPS service to include GPS tracking on all mobile and portable radios except for SL7550E, which does not have internal GPS receiver, $4,650 annually. Whereas the above referenced maintenance services are available from Scia Communications Incorporated, who is the only Motorola authorized elite specialist dealer located in the region. And whereas the quote provided by Scia Communications in the amount of $19,615.50 is the service to begin August 1st, 2023 and terminate July 31st, 2024. And whereas this project will be paid for with funds from the 2023 police budget under line 05-3120-411 contractual services. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Lancaster hereby approves the expenditures of funds as requested by Jonathan Zeiders, Captain, Lancaster Police Department. Be it further resolved that the total cost shall not exceed $19,615.50 and will be paid for from the 2023 police budget underlying 05-3120-411 contractual services.
May I have a second?
Second?
On the question? On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. I'm going to ask for motion to suspend the rules for the
Motion
suspended resolution.
motion to suspend the rules?
May I have a second?
Second?
On the roll, please.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes.
Granted.
So I'd like to move resolution number 18, whereas John Pilato, Highway Superintendent of the Town of Lancaster, by letter dated July 24, 2023, is appointed Noah Spire to the position of laborer, highways in the Town of Lancaster Highway Department pursuant to New York State Highway law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of Town of Lancaster hereby recognize the appointment of Noah Spire of Lancaster, New York, to the position of laborer, highways in the Town of Lancaster Highway Department effective August 7, 2023, contingent upon approval by Erie County Department of Personnel, and that such appointment shall be subject to all applicable provisions of the collective negotiations agreement between the Town of Lancaster and the CSEA Blue Collar Union and all applicable provisions of the law. And be it further resolved, the Supervisor of the Town of Lancaster shall be authorized to take all necessary action to implement the foregoing. May I have a second?
Second.
On the question. On the roll.
Councilmember Burkhart?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Rufino?
Yes. Noah with us tonight? Congratulations, Noah. Okay, we're going to go on to our communications. 399 is received and filed. 400 is received and filed. 401 is for resolution. 402 is Planning Committee. 403 is Planning Committee. 404 is received and filed. 405, received and filed. 406, received and filed. 407, received and filed. 408, received and filed. 409, received and filed. 410, received and, or 410, received and filed. 411 is resolution tonight. 412 is resolution tonight. 413, Planning Committee. 414 is Town Attorney. 415, received and filed. 416, received and filed. 417 is received and filed. 418, received and filed. 419, received and filed. 420, received and filed. 421, received and filed. 422 is Town Attorney, or Police, I'm sorry. 423 is for resolution. 424, received and filed. 425 is resolution tonight. 426, received and filed. 427, received and filed. 428 is for resolution. And 429 was resolution tonight. So we can move on to section 10, which is anybody can address the town board about anything they'd like to talk about. You have 5 minutes or less. You come up, raise your hand, come up, state your name and address. Anybody like to speak about anything else? Yes, sir?
Ken Sobzak, 14 Old Post Road. Question regarding some of the sidewalk violations that have been handed out in our subdivision. And I personally did not receive a citation, but over the last few years, I've probably spent $2 to $3 grand on sidewalk repair, minor heaving. My problem with it is the maple trees between the sidewalk and the street causing the problem, yet the town's reluctance to cut down any healthy tree. And you really shouldn't be able to have it both ways. Either on your dime you replace the sidewalk or cut down the trees. And I don't understand why that responsibility is and if you walk the subdivision or you go in any subdivision, the majority of the sidewalks being heaved are being caused by the trees. And That's all I like to say. I don't understand why it's both, it's falling on me either way. I can't have the trees cut down, which are causing the sidewalks to heave.
Thank you for your comments.
No.
I mean, a number of years ago, we looked at other towns, and the responsibility of sidewalks were borne by the resident, and that we followed that guideline.
And I have no problem with that. My problem is, why can't the trees be cut down?
Because we maintain the trees, we spend money on the trees. We do offer, we can come in there and cut right along the sidewalk and sever the roots for you. But over the course of, in your subdivision, they've probably been there for 30 years. We've invested a lot into the trees, and we're proud of our tree canopy. So the rule of thumb within the town has always been the tree has to be failing for us to keep.
All right.
We get awards for that every year. They come out, there's an Arbor Day thing down here. Lancaster's been known as a tree city.
And just one other related thing to that, is this a townwide initiative to cite homeowners? Because I think it's being kind of unfair because somebody took a tumble on Country Place to beat up on all the homeowners in the subdivision.
Yeah, I don't think we're picking, I mean, that's Matt's
I
department.
would just report to the board, the citations are issued after a complaint has been filed on a particular street. And I do agree that, this did start with a trip and fall lawsuit, which initiated the first round of complaints. And of course, that's going to snowball into, if you're just picking on me, what about them?
Right.
So we did receive follow-up complaints. And ironically, even today, I received another voicemail identifying a section of sidewalk that is missing. So we're going to investigate it and notify pretty much everybody on this street if there are deficiencies within that public sidewalk.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? For a second time? And a third time? I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session under number 1.
Oh, hang on a second.
Oh, sorry. Yes. One. Okay.
Jill Bohaniak, 454 Town Lane Road, Lancaster, 14086.
What was the address?
454 Town Lane Road, Lancaster, 14086. I submitted a letter to be on the agenda this evening to the town clerk's office earlier last week. My husband had placed a call, didn't get a return phone call, so I did it in writing. I don't know if you have a copy of the letter. Okay. So do I need to read the letter, or?
I don't have it with me, so come on.
You don't have a copy?
Well, I don't have it with me.
Okay, so I addressed it to the town board and to the attorney. We're requesting to be put on the agenda for the upcoming meeting in reference to the building activity that is ongoing on the adjacent property formerly 450 Town Line Road. I'm a resident of 454. I live right next door to the property. There was a courtesy merge to Bruce Wrestlinger, I spelled his name wrong, sorry about that, resident on 101 Simi. And he did say that it was finalized when he came to my house the other day. This past week, my husband and I stopped at the town inspector's office, and we were informed that the 2 structures that were recently built on the property do not have any approval for electric, water, gas hookup, bathroom, etc. We continue to be concerned that the 2 structures that are built will be used for business purposes, which we and other resident neighbors brought to the town board's attention when we attended a board meeting this past year. It was November 2022, where Mr. Wrestlinger applied for a variance to build a commercial-sized building. It was brought to the town board's attention that Mr. Wrestlinger and his son have a wood company, and their business website includes their location of operation, list of items to purchase, to get a customer lumber quote. There's also a price list for services. They charge $40 an hour minimum for some type of lumber. I didn't really understand service, and then $24 an hour to meet with them for a consultation. And Mr. Resslinger was asked if he had a permit to operate his business out of his home at the last town board meeting in November of '22, and he didn't answer the first time, but the second time he said no. So the past couple weeks, there's been a lot of activity. I did personally see a septic truck out in front, and there's been a lot of people working there in and out, and I did submit some pictures of many type of different wire colors that I think are associated with electric, gas, etc. There's a electric box right on the off the shoulder of Town Line Road near the driveway. And there's also trenches that were dug, and there's conduit materials in the trenches. They're covered up now. I submitted that picture too. And my husband did call the town clerk's office on July 27th to request to be put on the meeting, and we didn't get a response. He was transferred around, and then finally to the attorney. And then I brought the letter, and Matt helped me find where it should be submitted. I respect everyone here, but I have a continued concern. So I know I don't have a lot of time to talk, but there was one incident that took place where the town supervisor came to our home. There was Broad Concrete doing the concrete in the buildings, and they didn't contain the dust. And we have a pool, a newer roof on the house, a patio, and the dust was flying all over the place, and we got really concerned because there's really no way to get that off. So my husband went over to talk to them, stayed on his own property, and then they got verbally into it, and they told my husband, they said some nasty words to him and told him to get the off in the house, you old man. And so my husband, we did call the police, and they did call Broad Concrete, and we haven't heard back. We never addressed it with Mr. Resslinger, but we were fine with that. And then the town supervisor came to our home maybe a day or so later and basically said, I mean, from what I remember from the discussion is, accept what's going on back there as far as the structures are up, which we do. Our main concern is that they're going to operate a business out of those structures. And we are right on top, my pool's right near his buildings in the backyard. There's other residences that are close to that. And I'm concerned about what kind of business it is, machinery, noise, activity, classes, comings and goings of people. And we've been living in our home for 30 years and a payer of the town taxes for 30 years at that address. So with that being said, I feel, okay, so now, coming up to now, with all the pictures that I've seen, and I have taken pictures. I haven't filmed anything, which I was accused of doing, but it's okay. But I had to do something to submit so you could at least see what's happening there, and it's my understanding he had a permit to put up his walls and his roof. That was it, not anything else. And there's a lot going on there, so it seems to me like he's getting everything in, and it's going to be there, and then he's going to start operating his business. And we're going to be in the situation that we can A, stay there and live, or B, move. Which,
You're-
I mean, I just...
Sorry, your time's up.
What?
Your time's up.
Oh,
Sorry,
my
I gave
time
you
is up.
6. Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
Matt, have you been out there?
I have a couple more things to say because he threatened me, and this is the most important reason why I came here today.
Okay.
So if you would allow me to...
You want to speak on the same thing?
Well, no, that's my wife.
I know.
Yeah, you,
So let her.
Okay.
let her
Yeah.
speak. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
This
Okay.
this is the reason why I'm basically here. This past Friday, my doorbell rang, answered the door, opened the door, I didn't recognize the person, and the first thing they said to me is, how many more phone calls are you going to make? I said, excuse me? Then I stepped out on my porch, and he said, how many more phone calls are you going to make? I called my daughter down, she was up working from home, and he proceeded to say that he was putting up his, I mean, I have it written down, and I'm a little nervous, but he proceeded to say, this is what he said, my daughter heard everything. I'm going to be running my shop. There will be lights, machines, and noise, and I'm putting farm animals also back there. And when asked at the last board meeting why he said he wasn't going to be putting a business back there. He said, why should I tell them? Because I did ask him that. I said, if you're doing this, why, you know, he wasn't honest. And he's just, and then my daughter overheard, came down, she said, you know, we've been living here 30 years, you're causing distress to my family. And my mother, and then he said, my mother's not stupid. And he said, don't even. So then she left because she didn't want to get into, I can handle myself anyways. But the thing of it is he threatened me, and he said that he was, well, first of all, he said he's going to cut down all the trees on the property. That doesn't affect me. I don't care if he does that, just don't touch mine, because between the properties. And he also said that he was going to, move forward with everything that he was doing. His wife ended up coming up my driveway and coming there also, and she said that they are planning on putting, I'm just letting you all know, they are planning on putting a workshop there, and they are going to have classes where they could have 2, 4, or 8 individuals coming and going to their classes. And they've already insulated their building so it wouldn't make noise. And if I was going to have a pool party, I could let them know and they wouldn't run their machines. So I'm asking the board to please have respect for the residents of that vicinity that we live next to this home, our homes, and where his businesses that he wants to put in, which was our concern from the beginning, that somebody take some action, because he's going forward with everything, building, installing, and going forward. He does not care about anybody else but himself. He offended me. I'm afraid of him now because I don't like the way that he talked to me. And when his wife was speaking to me, which we had a very cordial conversation, he just stared at me the whole time with a very evil look in his face, like, I'm doing what I want. It doesn't matter what you people say. My husband ended up coming home and asked what's going on here, and then they were going back and forth. But this man intends on having his business there. And I don't know if it was my understanding he didn't even have a permit to operate a business out of his home. He told my husband, this is what's important that I would like you to know, that he said, if you continue to make phone calls, I know people in the town and you're going to have a problem. So I'm asking you, what is everybody going to do about this? This is a threat to me.
First, you felt threatened, you said.
What, sir?
You were threatened, you felt, right?
I was threatened by him, yes.
Did you call the police?
No, but I'm going to stop and file a complaint.
So you should. I mean, that's the first thing.
I could have called the police and had them
Second of
removed
all-
from my property, but
Yep, no, that's it. That's the first concern, is your safety. That's that.
Do you have a ring?
Okay.
What, sir?
Do you have a ring camera or anything that recorded
I do not
this?
have a ring camera. I have 2 German Shepherd dogs, though.
No, I was just
But-
wondering because if that conversation would have been recorded as you stood there, that's
Yes.
why I was asking.
Matt, can you look
my
into
daughter
what you're
overheard
allowed
the
to
beginning
do?
of the conversation, and then his wife came.
Excuse me, I have.
You have to speak up here.
Okay, I will, because there are some things I need to say.
Let's go to ZBA, man.
That my wife missed.
I did miss a lot, but I mean, importantly.
I was told,
Please, sir.
my name is Don Bohaniak. I'm Jill's husband. I was told, I walked up the driveway. Actually, I don't drive that much anymore. My brother brought me up the driveway. He said, there's somebody on your front porch. And I looked and I said, I have no clue who this person is, okay? When I walked up to the porch, he was engaged with my wife in a conversation, staring at her. Okay, I can be whatever, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I almost grabbed him by the back of his head and threw him on the ground and knocked him over. But I controlled myself. In the meantime, he had said to me, if you continue to call the town, we're gonna have problems because I have friends in the town. That was his words.
Right.
And I said to myself, oh, you have friends in the town. Well, who are your friends? Is it you? 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 This is what he insinuated. Okay? And I'm tired of him staring at me, 6:30 in the morning, walking the property line, doing all kinds of noise, digging trenches, everything else. In the meantime, I tried to call my attorney. while he was on my porch, okay, to ask him, what should I do here? Should I call the police? Should I do anything? I could not get through to my attorney, okay? In the meantime, I walked back up. We taped his conversation and his wife, and I am not going to go over to some man that I have no association with and tell him when I'm going to have personal or family matters in my yard because he thinks he's going to tell me I'm Bruce Rexlinger and I can do whatever I please. I have no reason to tell that man anything I do in my property. None.
So I remember being at your house, and it was
Yes.
number of years ago.
It was in,
It was last year.
it was right after November of 2022.
But things have, obviously, I thought they calmed down.
Well,
Now
you
it's
told
heated up
me,
again.
sir.
He's accelerated his business to an extent where you can't tell me I'm only doing this as a hobby. And your board here said to him, you are not allowed to have a business in them buildings, okay? And it's not zoned business. It's zoned agricultural residential. Am I correct?
I think you're- Matt, the map?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay? So why can you just go and start digging, putting in 220 lines, telling people on your website, well, we're getting this lumber, come to us. As a woodworker, you can tell me you can take a slab of wood that's 10 foot, 5 foot wide. You're going to use a little saw to cut that to make a cribbage board? Come on. How much more foolish can this be? Do you want this stuff next to you? Can I put signs up in front of my home and say, okay, here I am. I'm going to have a big business here. I'm going to run this. And I'm not listening to, I've already smelled ether or whatever it may have been at 6:30 in the morning. I get up at 4:30 in the morning every day, okay? I sit outside, I try to enjoy. I've been living there for I built that home, okay? I've been there for 30-some years, paid taxes in this town. And now I have this. Trees cut down, doing whatever. I don't know what he's doing. My daughter won't go in my swimming pool because if I've submitted this little sign that was put up there that told me, how would you like if we put a camera on your swimming pool?
Activity. Well, because
Explain that one
they
to
thought
me.
we were filming them, but when the town.
I'm trying to be a nice person. I'm not calling the police. I'm calling and asking for help from your town that includes, and I've read your codes, everything. I have not seen one inspection on that property.
Matt, any violations on that property?
Well, if he's putting in electric and everything else without permits.
Well, that's the thing. Have you been out there?
We have 2 inspections recorded on each of the permits that were issued on residential accessory structures. There were stakeout inspections and post-hole inspections. After several discussions with both parties, one, it's clear we are not permitting a business operation out of those buildings or residential accessory structures. Without a rezone or use variance, even if I did sign a permit, it's not valid. The code does not allow a business operating out of those facilities, out of those buildings. To date, we've had 1 site visit on July 27th, basically to verify and notify that we had some expired permits. And we have another on-site inspection scheduled with the applicant tomorrow to visually verify what's complete and what's not complete on the building. And we can provide reports after those inspections are complete.
Okay, so they're doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, then they could be,
We'll stop the work, we'll make sure that any permit-related requirements are being met.
My question is that who votes on if that can become a business?
it would need a rezone.
A what?
It would need a rezone.
It would need a rezone.
Special use permit or a rezone.
Yeah.
And that would be,
So how can you put a business into a residential area like nothing? Because you voted on it.
We haven't voted yet.
If you do vote, why do you have the choice? Why doesn't the neighborhood have the choice?
There's a public hearing.
That's what the way the code is written.
Public hearing.
Public hearing allows
Public hearing.
public input,
Okay.
community
I
input
just want
on
to
a-
answer that. That's
on
all
a
I'm asking.
request, on a request for a rezone and/or a request for a use variance, which is next to impossible to obtain.
It's got to go through a process.
Okay.
To be legal.
Right.
But in a while,
And
in a
if
million
they
and one shot,
applied for a
that could happen.
If they applied for a rezone, you would get a letter, anybody within 500 feet.
Like I did the last time that only a couple of us got. They notified people on City Street before they notified the neighbors
So
on
it's
my
within-
street
it's
and gave
within
me 1
500
day.
feet, you get a letter.
When I got it,
Public hearing will be held,
It was wrong, yes.
and you guys will be able to come and speak your mind. But there's no rezone application that, Matt, we're aware of, right? You know,
I'm sorry?
there's no rezone application that's been put in yet.
Not to date,
Yeah,
no.
So this is going to continue then?
Well, it's being investigated right
With
now.
the
by
opportunity.
Yeah, if he's
building
doing
department.
it without proper permits, they're gonna shut him down
So
and
this
cite
has
him.
been going, when you came on my porch that day, and I said to you, he's gonna try to operate a business out of here. And you said, well, he's not allowed to do that to date. And I would have to monitor his activity.
Doing it and not allowed to are two different things, okay?
I understand
Anybody can
that.
do what they want.
So
Are they
I
doing it
monitor
legally?
the activity.
That's a different story, and that's where tomorrow, investigation be done.
But I monitored the activity and I presented everything.
Well, our official here is well aware of it now.
Okay.
To
They're
date,
going out tomorrow.
Yes.
to date, I have 2 unanswered emails and 3 unanswered voicemails that I did receive. I just did not get to them today.
Oh, from me?
Yes. Yeah, I have,
Oh,
I have your 2 emails and I have voicemails.
Well, then one email has my name and address on the letter I sent because I didn't put it on there. How would they know who I am? And then the other, the voicemails are all about things that him and his wife were saying to me.
I mean, this is my wife here,
Thank you.
and I could have just been whatever that day. I understand I should have called the police, and I'm going to go down there, and I'm going to file a complaint.
Yeah.
And I am also going to post my property, right along my border on that side. I have no problems. He's not my neighbor. He doesn't live there. I don't want cars going in and out at night. If I call the police and I say, I see this car going back there, he doesn't live there, how do I know who it is?
So
Explain that to me. How do I know who that is going back there?
Again,
And I was told by your board and everything, no, wait a minute. I was told, watch his activities. This was your words here. Watch the activities. If you see something or you suspect anything that's going on, please report it to us, which we did. And then sometimes it seems like we never get any kind of satisfaction that anybody has looked into it. You were at my home. You stood in the backyard. I asked you, how tall do you think those buildings are? You're supposed to be only up to 17 feet, 17.5 feet with whatever. You said to me, well, they're whatever. And then you said to me, well, it's easy to measure. That's not my job. Do your job.
that's what the code is.
Do your job. You're the supervisor.
You're raising your
And you
voice.
also told me
I'm gonna cut you
about
off.
your other business
I'm gonna cut you
at
off.
your own home.
Ma'am, one thing for
Okay,
you,
sir.
you're way past your time. Just so you know, you can't be put on a town board agenda. What you're doing here tonight is proper.
What'd you say?
What you're doing tonight, that's a session that you're able to speak on anything you want. This is how you get on the agenda. You can't put yourself scheduled on the agenda.
Oh, I can't. put my-
Yeah, you stated it here, can you put us on the agenda?
Oh.
There's no room on the agenda for that. That's section number 10, which you're at right now. When we ask anybody, they want to talk about anything else, that's where you come up and speak, what you just did.
So what do I have to do then if I have to?
If you ever had a complaint like this, you
Yes.
come to a meeting.
Yes.
And when this part of the meeting comes up, then you come and address your complaint.
Oh, I don't have to put myself on the agenda? Okay,
You just-
sorry about
No, it's okay.
that.
It's not, you don't understand the rules, that's all.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
everybody.
Thank you. Yes?
Ellen Engelhardt, 446 Town Line, Lancaster. Just the other side of that lot that we've been talking about with the buildings on it. Just wanted to say that I'm going to be listing my house, and I don't want a business devaluing my property. So when these classes are taking place, or this woodworking is taking place, and he's coming in and out, with his loads, it obviously devalues my property, which is in the residential section. So just would like it on the record that he has said that he is running his business and he's not allowed to. And so I'm very upset about it.
Can I please get your last name?
Sure, Engelhardt, E-N-G-E-L-H-A-R-T.
And your first name?
Ellen.
Ellen, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Yes, sir?
Just take one, Kenneth Seidel, C-Y-D-E-L, 145 Town Line Road. Neighbors across the street. I actually live in Alden, sorry. I concur with what they're saying. I've seen them. I've seen these things done. The only thing that I ask for them, for Jill and Don, is that when you do your inspection, send them a letter, send them some kind of communication that you're doing something, okay? If we're not satisfied with it as the people on Town Line Road, there's other ones out there too, people that don't agree with this guy, what he's doing. He's gonna build a business. Whoever's friends with him in this town hall knows that, because he's getting all the information Don's trying to give to you people. I don't know who it is. I don't care who it is. Besides the point. Okay, there's no big deal. The only thing is, just try to communicate whoever with, especially Don and Jill. They live next door. And Elaine. They can come to me and tell me what the heck's going on. Give them something in writing that's, hey, he's not gonna do it. We're not gonna allow him to do this. Okay, we did the inspection. This is what he's doing. Okay? That's all we ask. Anything? Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Anybody else? For a second and a third time? I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Motion to go into executive session.
May I have a second? Second. On the roll, please.
Councilmember Burkhardt?
Yes.
Councilmember Leary?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazur?
Yes.
For Supervisor Rufino?
Yes, thank you all for coming.
Send you the civil claim.
Does that match this? Well, no, that's the same site.
Larger.
Oh, larger?
Yeah, they purchased the 40 edition.
To the south? I gotta wait for the creek.
They kept everything out of the floodplain.